Everyone expected a light-hearted morning chat. Instead, what unfolded that day on The View became one of the most electric, uncomfortable, and unforgettable segments in daytime television history. When Oscar winner Jennifer Lawrence stepped onto that iconic stage, she had no idea she was walking into a fight. Not the kind waged with fists, but with barbed words, sharpened glances, and a simmering agenda that would soon spill over. The morning had begun like any other Tuesday broadcast. The studio buzzed with its usual electricity, camera operators adjusting their rigs, producers huddling behind the set with clipboards and headsets, the warm-up comic coaxing applause from the audience. The air smelled faintly of coffee and hairspray. Jennifer, dressed in a tailored navy jumpsuit with gold accents that caught the light every time she moved, entered with her trademark warmth. She waved to the cheering crowd, her smile wide and genuine. She'd just wrapped a critically acclaimed psychological thriller already generating Oscar buzz. This was supposed to be one of the fun, easy stops on her press tour. The co-hosts greeted her in their own styles. Whoopi Goldberg stood to give her a genuine hug. Sarah Haynes offered a bright, friendly nod. But Joy Behar extended only a limp handshake and a smile so tight it barely registered as one. A small red flag, but one Jennifer brushed off. She'd dealt with strong personalities before. "Jennifer," Joy began the moment everyone had settled in, "you're here promoting another film where you play what?" Another troubled woman fighting her inner demons. The tone was dry, almost dismissive. Jennifer blinked, slightly taken aback. "It's a thriller, yes," she said carefully, "but it's also about resilience, about overcoming trauma." Joy cut her off with a smirk. "Sure. Sounds like every other role you've taken since Silver Linings Playbook." A few audience members laughed nervously, unsure if they were supposed to. Jennifer kept her posture open, her voice even. "I like roles with depth. Stories about mental health, survival, and strength matter, especially for women." "Oh, of course," Joy interjected, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Because you're Hollywood's feminist heroine, right? Ever think maybe you're just being typecast?" The studio's energy shifted, a subtle but undeniable change in the air. Sarah Haynes tried to step in. "The film also deals with themes of justice and redemption." But Joy wasn't finished. "Justice," she repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Didn't you once say you avoid watching the news because it's too depressing? Hard to believe you care about justice when you're tuning out reality." The front row gasped. Jennifer's smile tightened. "I said that years ago. I was being honest about protecting my mental health. That doesn't mean I don't care." Joy leaned back, crossing her arms. "Must be nice to live in a bubble where you play make-believe for millions while the rest of us live in the real world." Jennifer straightened in her seat. "Acting isn't a bubble. It's storytelling. Good stories are reality. They reflect who we are, what we fear, what we love. They make people feel seen. Or maybe," Joy countered, "they just make people rich." Jennifer's eyes flicked toward Whoopi, who gave her a tiny supportive nod. The other co-hosts shifted uncomfortably, sensing where this might be headed. Joy pressed on. "Let's be real. You're talented. But don't you think this whole relatable Jennifer thing the media pushes is a little manufactured?" Jennifer's voice was calm but had an edge now. "I don't control that narrative. I'm just myself. I'm clumsy. I make mistakes. People connect with honesty." Joy's laugh was short and sharp. "You mean like the Oscars fall? Or when you said you were sick of people talking politics while you were also talking politics?" Jennifer's eyes narrowed, not in anger yet, but focus. "I've learned from those moments. That's called being human. And that's when the heat rose." Joy leaned in, her tone suddenly cooler but more dangerous. "Maybe. Or maybe it's just good PR. You've got a whole team making sure the world thinks you're the girl next door, while you're cashing blockbuster checks." Jennifer tilted her head. "I don't need a team to be myself. And if you think honesty is PR, maybe you've forgotten what it looks like." A sharp murmur swept through the audience. Whoopi cleared her throat, but Joy raised her voice just enough to keep control. "Look, you want to play the strong woman on screen? Great. But don't pretend it's activism. You're not marching in the streets. You're not taking risks that might actually cost you something." Jennifer's lips pressed into a thin line. Every person has their way of contributing. Mine is through art. And I'll tell you something. Inspiring someone to believe they can survive what they're going through? That's as real as it gets. The audience erupted into applause. A few even stood. Joy didn't smile. Jennifer continued, leaning forward now. You can belittle acting if you want. But if even one young girl watches my work and sees a piece of herself, and realizes she's not broken, that matters. And no sarcastic comment will take that away. For a moment, the table went quiet except for the sound of the band's instruments softly humming backstage. Sarah jumped in to move to the next question, but Joy, unwilling to cede the last word, smirked again. Touching. Really. Just remember, in 10 years, they'll be calling the next girl Hollywood's authentic voice, and you'll just be another headline. Jennifer didn't flinch. She simply smiled, not the warm press tour smile, but something cooler, sharper. If that happens, I'll applaud her. Because real strength isn't being the headline. It's knowing when you don't need to be. The crowd roared, and for the first time since Jennifer walked out, Joy had no quick comeback. We're all complex, Jennifer said, her voice steady but with a flicker of heat beneath the surface. I've said things I've regretted. I've also stood up for causes I believe in. I don't claim to be a political expert. I just care about people. Joy twirled her pen between her fingers, then let it tap against her cue card, an almost lazy rhythm that didn't match the gleam in her eyes. Right, she said flatly. Just a pretty face with opinions. The words landed like a slap. Jennifer sat back, processing. Her lips parted, a retort poised on her tongue, but she didn't let it fly. Not yet. She scanned Joy's face, searching for a hint of humor that wasn't there. What exactly are we doing here? She asked finally, her voice calm but edged. Joy gave an exaggerated shrug, her expression feigning innocence. Just asking questions. But everyone in the studio knew better. The tension was now so thick it felt physical. The audience had gone completely still, the usual bursts of laughter and applause replaced by the sound of someone nervously shifting in their seat. Jennifer's polite press tour smile was gone. Her shoulders squared, her eyes sharper now. The set's cozy morning show atmosphere had been replaced by something more dangerous, like the first few seconds before a lightning strike. Joy leaned in, her elbows on the table, a predatory glint in her gaze. You say you don't pretend to be perfect, but isn't that exactly what Hollywood's been selling with you for the last decade? The quirky, clumsy girl next door who's just so real? Isn't that its own kind of performance? Jennifer took a slow breath. Her voice, when it came, was steady and clear. If being honest about anxiety, about tripping in public, or admitting when I don't know everything makes me fake, then maybe we've all got the wrong definition of authenticity. Joy scoffed, her lips curling. So authenticity is crying on cue in a movie trailer, then telling fans to stay strong during a press tour? That's real to you. From the corner of the table, Whoopi flinched, her brow furrowed. Sarah Haynes's eyes darted toward the control room, silently pleading for someone to step in. Jennifer leaned forward now, her hands clasped in front of her. You're mocking vulnerability like it's a gimmick. But sharing your pain doesn't make it less real. It makes you marketable, Joy shot back. The audience gasped, a ripple of shock moving through the room. Jennifer's brows rose, her disbelief plain. Are you seriously questioning whether my experiences, my emotions are valid just because I'm an actress? Joy's voice turned colder. I'm questioning whether you know where the performance ends and the person begins. The silence that followed was suffocating. Even the hum of the studio lights seemed louder. I do, Jennifer said, each word deliberate. And I know exactly what this is. You're not asking questions anymore. You're taking cheap shots to stir the pot. And you know it. Joy waved a dismissive hand. Oh, please. You came here for press. You wanted the exposure. Don't act surprised when someone actually asks about the product. I came here to talk about my film, Jennifer snapped, the restraint finally breaking. Not to be insulted by someone who clearly walked into this segment with a chip on her shoulder. A murmur rose from the audience. Someone in the third row called out, "Let her speak." Sarah tried to jump in. "Joy, maybe we should pivot to the film's message. But Joy cut her off without looking her way. Let her speak. She's been speaking for a decade. I'm just asking what happens when America's sweetheart stops being America's sweetheart. Jennifer's gaze locked on her. It's not an act. And if it were, at least I'd be acting with empathy, not cruelty. That drew a wave of applause from pockets of the crowd. Joy didn't flinch. There it is, Joy said with a small grin. That fire. That's the Jennifer people don't see. Maybe because, Jennifer replied evenly, they're not trying to provoke it. The room shifted again, no longer passive tension, but a collective leaning forward, as if the audience knew they were witnessing a moment that would be replayed for years. Whoopi finally raised her voice. All right, enough. We're going to take a short break. No, Jennifer said, her tone firm, cutting through the air. Let's finish this. It was no longer just an uncomfortable interview. It was a challenge. Joy's smile thinned. Finish it. Oh, honey, this isn't a movie set. You don't get to control the scene here. Jennifer stood, slowly, deliberately, and the camera operators instinctively adjusted their shots. The gold accents on her jumpsuit caught the light as she placed her hands on the table. You're right, she said. This isn't a movie set. Which is why I'm not going to sit here and play a part in your performance. Because that's all this is, you playing the tough truth-teller, when really, you're just another person tearing down women to get a headline. The audience erupted, not in polite clapping, but in a raw, full-bodied cheer. Jennifer looked around at them, then back to Joy. You wanted the unfiltered me? You just got her. Without waiting for a cue, she stepped back from the table. The cameras followed her as she walked off stage, head high, not breaking stride. Behind her, the host scrambled, Sarah looking stricken, Whoopi muttering something under her breath, and Joy, smiling faintly, as if she'd gotten exactly what she wanted. She didn't blink. She didn't fidget. She leaned in just slightly, voice low but steady. You know what, Joy? You've spent this entire segment trying to tear me down. But let's be clear, this isn't about me. This is about you. Joy gave a sharp, humorless laugh. Oh, here we go. Psychoanalyze me now. Jennifer. Please, tell me who I am. I don't have to, Jennifer replied, tilting her head, her eyes unwavering. Everyone's watching. They already see it. Joy folded her arms across her chest. What they see is an actress having a meltdown because someone finally asked her something real. No, Jennifer shot back. What they see is a talk show host so threatened by a younger woman's success that she turned an interview into an ambush. The word ambush seemed to echo through the studio. Joy's jaw tightened. Threatened? You think I'm threatened by a girl who got lucky at 22 and tripped her way into an Oscar? Stop calling it luck, Jennifer said, fire building in her tone. Stop dismissing the work, the preparation, the pressure, the years of grinding auditions, rejections, and sacrifices. I earned every inch of my career. You tripped your way through that career, Joy said coldly. That's what people remember. That's what they talk about. Jennifer inhaled slowly, then stood up with deliberate calm. The audience seemed to collectively hold its breath. You know what they remember, Joy? They remember honesty. They remember vulnerability. They remember someone who told the truth when it wasn't perfect. I've made mistakes, but I've never pretended to be better than anyone else. Can you say the same? Joy's nostrils flared. Don't you dare try to flip this on me. Jennifer's voice rose, not with rage, but with authority. You dared me first. You've spent the last 10 minutes trying to assassinate my character. You called me entitled. You called me fake. But tell me, what's more fake than smiling in the intro and stabbing your guest live on air? The crowd was no longer silent. Whispers, scattered claps, and a low ripple of tension filled the room. Whoopi rose from her chair. This needs to stop now. But Jennifer wasn't done. I came here with respect, she said firmly. But respect is a two-way street, and right now you're standing in the middle of it with road spikes. Joy slammed her palm on the table. If you don't like tough questions, don't come on a tough show. This wasn't tough, Jennifer said evenly. This was toxic. The audience reacted like a wave, heads turning, eyes wide. Joy opened her mouth to fire back, but Jennifer had already turned to the other hosts. Her voice softened. "Sarah, Whoopi, I respect you both, and I know this isn't what this show is meant to be. But I won't sit here and pretend this is okay." She unclipped her microphone pack. "Jennifer, please," Sarah said quietly. Jennifer met her eyes. "I appreciate you. But if I stay here, I'm telling every young woman watching that it's acceptable to sit silently while they're disrespected. And I won't do that." The studio went still, so quiet you could hear the hum of the lights. Joy sat speechless. Jennifer gave the audience one final look, then walked off the set. Shoulders squared, steps firm, dignity intact. Behind her, Joy sat frozen, blinking hard. Whoopi leaned forward, her voice low but pointed. "You really couldn't help yourself, could you?" Jennifer disappeared backstage, heels clicking against the floor. A producer rushed toward her. "Jennifer, wait, we can fix this." She turned, her eyes still blazing. "No, you can't." Outside the studio doors, a cluster of photographers waited. When she emerged, they caught her expression, fierce, unshaken. Questions were shouted, flashes popped, but she didn't break stride. In the distance, a black SUV idled at the curb. Inside, the control room was chaos. Producers argued about whether to cut the segment from the replay or air it unedited. On social media, clips were already spreading like wildfire. Hashtags sprang up within minutes. Some defended Jennifer, calling her brave for standing up to Joy. Others criticized her for walking out. By the time her car pulled away from the curb, opinion pieces were already in draft. In the SUV's back seat, Jennifer sat in silence, her hands folded in her lap. The city blurred past the window. She wasn't thinking about the headlines or the tweets. She was thinking about the moment she'd chosen not to swallow her words. The moment she'd refused to play along. Her phone buzzed with messages. Friends, colleagues, strangers. Some said, "Proud of you." Others just sent a single word, "Wow." At a red light, she finally exhaled. She knew the storm was only beginning. But this time, she wouldn't be the one caught in it. She had stepped out of the studio with her voice intact, and she had no intention of letting anyone twist that truth. Somewhere back in the studio, Joy was probably already rewriting the narrative. But Jennifer knew one thing for certain: millions of people had just seen exactly what happened, and they would remember. The flashes lit up Jennifer's face, but this time, she didn't smile. No waves, no quick glances for the cameras, just a determined stride toward the black SUV waiting at the curb. She got in, the door closed, and she was gone. Inside the View's studio, the silence she left behind was sharp and uncomfortable. Producers scrambled to cut to an abrupt commercial break. Joy Behar sat stiff in her chair, gripping her note cards like a lifeline. Whoopi Goldberg leaned toward her, voice low but cutting. "You need to fix this. Now." When the segment resumed, the panel offered a thin, forced smile to the audience. Joy delivered a vague explanation. Jennifer had chosen to leave early due to miscommunication and scheduling issues. No one bought it. Within minutes, the internet was on fire. Clips of the confrontation went viral instantly. Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram swarmed with hashtags. Hashtag Justice for Jennifer, hashtag Boycott the View, hashtag Team Lawrence. An hour later, the full, unedited segment hit YouTube. By evening, it had over 8 million views. People weren't just shocked, they were furious. News anchors, bloggers, fellow actors, everyone had an opinion. Emma Stone tweeted, "Jennifer handled that with grace and strength. Shameful behavior from a veteran host." Viola Davis reposted the clip, writing, "When women attack other women for their success, we all lose. Respect to Jennifer for walking away." One particular moment was everywhere. Jennifer's parting words, "If I sit through one more second of this hostility in silence, then I'm telling every young woman watching that they should do the same, and I won't," played on every major talk show that night. CNN labeled it, "the interview that shook daytime TV." Entertainment Tonight called it, "the most explosive talk show moment of the decade." The next morning, Jennifer posted a single Instagram story, "I went on The View to speak about my work, not to be humiliated. I stand by my decision to leave. We should all draw the line somewhere. Mine was today. No emojis. No tags. Just the words. Her fan base surged. Old interviews resurfaced showing her advocating for equal pay, mental health awareness, and accountability. To the public, she wasn't a diva. She was a professional who had been blindsided and refused to be diminished. At The View, tension was thick. ABC issued a sterile corporate statement about valuing open dialogue while ensuring a respectful environment for guests. Behind the scenes, insiders whispered about executive backlash. Some claimed Joy had been told to apologize. She didn't. Instead, the next day, she tried to spin it. Well, folks, things got a little heated yesterday. Jennifer Lawrence is a strong personality. I'm a strong personality. These things happen. She forced a chuckle. The audience's mild applause said everything. Whatever magic had been there was gone. But the public wasn't listening to Joy. They were following Jennifer. Her latest film smashed box office projections, powered not only by curious viewers, but by supporters who felt she had stood up for them. A BuzzFeed headline read, "Jennifer Lawrence just did what every woman has wanted to do on daytime TV, and we're here for it." One viral TikTok with over 3 million likes summed it up. She stood up. She left. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just stood up. That's power. By month's end, Jennifer hadn't just survived the press tour, she'd redefined it. She was no longer just America's sweetheart. She was something more. Fierce. Fearless. Untouchable. Some still debated, did Joy go too far, or was Jennifer right to walk out? But one thing was certain, the moment had already entered pop culture history. And maybe that's the real takeaway. In an industry where silence is often the safer choice, Jennifer Lawrence chose to walk, straight through the noise, the lights, the criticism, and into a narrative she controlled. What about you? When the line is crossed, do you stay and endure it, or do you stand up and walk away? Share your thoughts below, and if you want more behind-the-scenes moments that change the game, make sure to follow along. The next story might be even bigger.